Oh, I'm back. Rhodes Rants live. And let's see if anybody actually shows up to this, as YouTube and notifications have not been the friend of the majority of live streams I've been on lately, regardless of channel, regardless of whose channel. Notifications have not been particularly friendly. So we'll see. We will see. We'll give it a couple of minutes, see if we get some folks pile in here, see if anybody shows up, and we'll talk a little Terminator. We'll talk a little Star Wars, and I'm going to try to be on for about 45 minutes, maybe. Senator Dave, what's up? Teal Leader, highly valued member of the Rhodes Squadron. Oh, okay. Senator Dave did get a notification, and bam, John Matrix with the $5 super chat. You did not need to do that, sir, but it is much appreciated. Much appreciated. We are going to BS this morning, whether we have a full house or not. It doesn't matter to me. One person or 20 people, we're going to sit here and visit and talk a little Terminator, Dark Fate, and some Mandalorian maybe. So I know John Matrix is out roaming the roads right now on a Sunday morning preparing for football. And we did our live stream on Black and White Sports. Go subscribe if you have not. Last night for our predictions, because that is what we would normally be doing right now. Teal Leader is chilling on a Sunday. John Matrix, let's go with the laugh out loud part of that. Although you know me, I'd totally reverse it if you really need it, man. I'm not trying to be greedy. I am not. YouTube will do what it can do. Anyway, did anybody... I know Mr. Matrix did. Good morning, Chillmonger. He says, did somebody say chilling? Yes, we said chilling. Do I expect a bunch of people on a Sunday morning when people are in church, watching NFL pregame, or watching NFL, which is actually on right now? So, hey, John Matrix is out getting turkey legs. I watched a video about the stuffed turkey legs. There's a place down in Houston that's got stuffed turkey legs that is now becoming world famous, and John Matrix is attempting to get some. The lady said that on a slow day they sell 2,000 freaking turkey legs. And here is my boy, 2nd Street Marvel. Dude, appreciate it. Great hat. I saw this hat, man. I had to grab it. I had to. Glad you're here. You've been a big influence on the channel lately, by the way. So I appreciate that. And he says, I don't go to church and I don't watch foosball. I am a big football fan. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm like a rabid football fan. I actually watched the Dolphins and the Steelers play last Monday night, which was a dumpster fire. But I love football, so I'll check it out. I don't give a damn who's playing. If it's pro, college, most of the big games I watch, but I'm not as habitual about it as I used to be. I posted it on Twitter, that video. I never even thought I should have shared this on my community post. and I didn't. I don't know what I was thinking. 2nd Street. I used to be the biggest football fan, no more. Why is that, 2nd Street? Just wondering. I mean, I don't know, but sometimes we get busy and life takes over and we sort of I probably should do more of that. So, anybody, I know how John Matrix sort of feels about Terminator Dark Fate. Has anybody else in the chat seen Terminator Dark Fate? I will be dropping spoilers. I will talk some spoilers in this live stream. So, hey, please smash the like button. The NFL is pandering to wokeness. I cannot give up the NFL. I just cannot. I know some people that have. Being from Texas, the NFL is just, people love their NFL. Eric, welcome in, Eric Breen. As a Bengals fan, this is my favorite week of the season. This is bye week, I believe, for the Bengals. So at least you break even today as a Bengals fan, which is better than you can say on most weeks. Not that I agree with that, John Matrix. I think the NFL's kind of went through a bit of a course correction on that myself. But as a Bengals fan, you don't lose today, which is beautiful. I used to watch every game every Sunday. A handful of years ago, I gave up on the game. The quality went downhill fast. Here's my biggest issue with the NFL. I miss the old days, the hard-hitting days. I'm a Niners fan, so I grew up during the Ronnie Lott days, right? And Ronnie Lott, he'd take your head off in a second, and wouldn't think twice about it. I don't look to the NFL to set standards. Just give me sports and sell jerseys. I may watch Terminator Dark flop online. Okay, and here's as we talk about the Terminator. Is this black and white sports or Rhodes Rants? Hey, we just got into the NFL, sort of Sunday morning, I guess, banter, you could say. Terminator Dark Fate, as you guys know, if you watch my review, I did go see it. And 19K Fox, good morning, sir. I did go see it, and look, I didn't hate it. I gave it a 6.75 out of 10. Obviously, I hated the first 3 minutes of the movie. That goes without saying, I think. And it's sort of a weird deal with this movie. It's entertaining in a way that a Fast and the Furious sequel is entertaining. Okay? But here's the problem with that. The Fast and the Furious is just sort of a run-of-the-mill popcorn flick. In my opinion, anyway. I like the Fast and the Furious movies. They're dumb entertainment. And you don't expect that out of Terminator movies. At least I hope not. At least I don't. Okay. 19K Fox is not a Terminator Dark Fate fan. And I've said, if somebody asks me, how do I feel about this movie? The answer is, quote, pretty good. But we've got to think about what pretty good means. It means not great, not excellent, slightly above average. Okay? That's what pretty good means. Slightly above average. A 6.75. I've only seen 2 movies this year that I would say was notably worse than this movie. And that would be Spider-Man Far From Good and Captain Marvel. And parts of Captain Marvel, it's arguable between the two movies. I've said I'm going to try to be fair on this channel. I will tell you this, in my opinion, Captain Marvel was not nearly as bad as I thought it was supposed to be. Okay. Heading into the movie, I thought Sam Jackson was very good in Captain Marvel. And you guys know I rescue animals, so I dig the hell out of that cat. Just being real, I thought that cat was a card. Okay. But again, I expect something notably better out of Terminator than I do Captain Marvel, right? A run-of-the-mill MCU movie, or at least that's how I hope people look at Captain Marvel. I thought it was, now, it certainly wasn't the worst MCU movie. I didn't like Ant-Man and the Wasp at all. Captain Marvel was better than Spider-Man, I thought, personally. Okay, Cinedave. I love Terminator Salvation. So I absolutely would have loved a sequel to Terminator Salvation. I think it's wildly underappreciated. I love the future war thing. I loved Sam Worthington in that movie. I loved Christian Bale in that movie. I liked the cinematography in that movie. I liked the grittiness of that movie. I liked the way the movie felt. Sometimes for me, it is all about how does a movie, quote unquote, feel. And Terminator Salvation felt right to me. Okay. There were some things that were sort of clunky. All right. But all in all, I really like Salvation. I do. Here's the MCU expert in the panel, by the way. Captain Marvel was okay. Far From Home is good. I think Homecoming was better, but Mysterio. Okay. Maybe that's my issue with Far From Good, because I didn't like Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. Mysterio did not work for me. I really liked Homecoming. Upon further viewings, Homecoming got better for me, and now I like it a lot more than I did say 3 years ago. And I really liked Michael Keaton as Vulture. I'm a Michael Keaton guy, though, so maybe I'm a little bit biased. I'll check out Captain Wokeness on Disney Plus when it comes out. I wasn't spending my money on Brie Larson's wokeness. I did not spend my money either. Okay, so hey Rhodes, what do you think about Conan the dog that helped take down the leader of ISIS? Conan the dog. Did I miss something? I'm sure 19K will be like, this is what I meant. I'm a guy who thinks every MCU movie was heaven. There's some rough ones for me. Some MCU movies that are rough. Ant-Man and the Wasp. I really liked the first Ant-Man. Iron Man 3 was total dog shit. Shane Black should never be allowed to make another movie ever again. See Predator. He should have his damn SAG card ripped out of his hand, and somebody should tape it to a shovel and hit him in the head with it. Keaton is the man. I agree. I liked his outfit, Mysterio. Captain Marvel isn't about Brie Larson. She simply stars in it. That is sort of why I went ahead and watched it. Because in a vacuum, one of the things is starting, and I used to feel this way, and I sort of changed somewhere. There was a time when I just looked at Hollywood as being a bunch of kooks. They're all a bunch of kooks for the most part. And I tried to separate me watching a movie from what they had to say on a personal level. Now it's taken a life of its own and it's gotten ugly and it has seeped into the storytelling, which is where I got a problem. Is when, good God, when the storytelling starts getting affected by people's personal beliefs. Okay. Just stick to story, because they don't want to know my personal beliefs and I really don't want to know theirs. I just want to see a good movie with a good story. Iron Man 3 was bad. I saw it only one time. I watched it again in prep for Endgame, and it was worse. I guess maybe that was the third time I'd ever seen it, but it got progressively worse as I went along. Agreed, Senator Dave. Iron Man 3 is okay, certainly not the best. I have it pretty close to my worst MCU movie. A K9 was part of the Green Beret unit that took down that ISIS leader last week. I'm a dog lover, so it was great to see Conan honored for its. I don't know anything about that. I will check that out, okay? Because yes, that'll be really fascinating to see. Of course, you guys know I have rescues. I do have a Patreon. I always forget to plug it in videos, so I do have a Patreon, and I've got 2 Patreons right now, and I greatly appreciate that. As you guys know, this channel will always be dedicated to my rescue animals. Okay, so that's the deal. Eventually, I want to buy land and have a separate building on it, insulated, heated, cooled, for just rescue animals. Okay. And I've got cats and dogs. Shaney is the man. If you guys are not subbed to Shaney, please go subscribe. We have been subscribed forever to him. Long time member of the Rhodes Squadron. I mean, long time. Thanks, man. It has been a long time since I've done a solo live stream. Second, I'm with you. I don't care much about actors' personal opinions. If I was going to, I wouldn't watch anything with Chris Evans. Yeah, I don't like most of Chris Evans' views on things, but I like Chris Evans in most movies, to be honest with you. The Hulk movie wasn't great either. I actually kind of liked that movie. I watched it again, getting ready for Endgame, and maybe it's because I like Lev Tyler, and Robert Downey had a good cameo in that. Eric Breen. I just went and subbed to Skeletor. Yes. He is the master of characters. Shaney can take most pop culture characters and do some fantastic impressions of them. Okay. And go through and watch his videos. Austin Powers and Skeletor is one of his great ones. He has got a video of the Swedish chef from the Muppets that will bring the house down. It is one of the funniest videos I've ever seen in my life. I liked Edward Norton's Hulk. I actually like Ang Lee's Hulk movie. There, I said it. I said it out loud. Now, when I say I like it, we're talking like a 7 out of 10. Okay, not like a historically great. And I don't understand why they can't get a Hulk movie right. So, Terminator Dark Fate is going to make about $27 million opening weekend at the box office domestically. I've heard it's going to make less than $30 million in China and something like 110 to 125 million worldwide on open. So it's Terminator Dark Fate is a gigantic flop, a historic flop. Once I stop misspelling it, yeah, right. Fatal J, what's up? Texas. It needs to flop. Don't worry, it's flopped. I did see the Joker is right around 934 worldwide now. Okay. So Joker is far and away. I'm not going to call it a surprise hit. When somebody puts on that sort of performance and you have that sort of character driven film, it's really not surprising. Joker was an excellent movie. I've told you guys the rewatch factor is not super high with me on Joker. And that's because when I watch movies, I want to be entertained in a fun way. And the Joker was great in the way that the Deer Hunter was great. Okay. In other words, it's a great movie, but I'm not going to sit down and consume Joker 5 times in 1 month. I might find myself eating a bullet if I did. Not literally, but it brought me so far down that I really, Cinedave is absolutely, he's down around John Matrix neck of the woods. A bunch of Houston-ish dudes in here right now. So, and Cinedave is going to be a future member of Texas Night Live when it makes its return. And I'm guessing it may return either Tuesday or Wednesday this week. I've had some subscribers reach out to me and say, hey, we missed the top 10 shows. Where are they? I had somebody email me the other day, and I'm like, I kind of want to bring it back. So Dark Fate needs to make $480 million to break even. It's probably not going to make this. And let's think about something for a minute. Terminator Dark Fate will struggle to beat Solo, a Star Wars story, at the box office. Let that gravitate in your mental facilities a second. It will struggle to beat Solo, a Star Wars story, at the worldwide box office. Now, I enjoyed Solo, and what I've learned is there are quite a few people in the Fandom Menace that actually liked Solo. Okay. I know that's not supposed to be said out loud, but there are some of us. But in my review, I said the same thing about Dark Fate as I did Solo. I enjoyed Solo, but it was a movie that didn't need to be made. Nobody was banging the drum for Solo, a Star Wars story. And I think Terminator has now fell victim of that. But I've got a solution to all the Terminator fixes. And I'll throw this out. I believe, now I'm a fan of the genre, subscribe to the Horror Hideout. I believe the Terminator needs to condense down. It needs to take a page out of two movies, the original Terminator and Joker. It needs to reel in the budget, and they need to consider making the Terminator a character-driven film again, and a horror movie in the way that the original Terminator film did. Take it back to the elements that were stalkish, okay? Somewhat reminiscent of Jason Voorhees with a shotgun back in the original Terminator movie. Make the Terminator somewhat scary again, okay? In other words, break it all down. Quit trying to be Terminator 2, because nothing is going to be Terminator 2. Terminator 2 was the stars aligning and coming together for a film, right? For a franchise. The first Terminator was a sci-fi horror movie, and the second one was they sort of reinvented the Terminator into this sci-fi action juggernaut. There are similarities between Alien and Aliens in that way. Alien was a sci-fi horror movie. Aliens was a sci-fi action movie. And both movies got it right. But reel it back in. Okay? Quit trying to have the next Robert Patrick. All right? You keep bringing out this same sort of Terminator without the charisma, without the stoic intimidation. Look, in some weird, odd way, Robert Patrick was likable as the T-1000. And he scared the shit out of you, okay? You saw that dude, and I remember when the trailers came out for T2, and I remember we didn't know who Robert Patrick was, okay? That was sort of his launch. People forget that. Robert Patrick's launch was T2. Now, he had a little cameo in Die Hard 2, but he wasn't known by name. It's only after going back and watching Die Hard 2 do you go, oh, that guy in the baggage claim getting shot at is Robert Patrick. But the point being, quit trying to replicate the T-1000's intimidation factor, right? Because unless you can cast that right, and Gabriel Luna, in my opinion, failed in that role. They keep trying to do that same thing over and over again, and it's not working. The lady in Rise of the Machines wasn't good. All they have to do is base it in the future and have people being made into cyborg killers. So what are you saying? Are you saying make it where there's a ton of Terminators, maybe? I just want to make sure that I'm sort of getting that right. If anyone has seen Doctor Who and the episodes of the Cybermen are always creepy. You know who I would think could make an interesting bad Terminator? Hugo Weaving from The Matrix. You guys think about that a minute. I think I think Hugo could make a really good evil Terminator. Because there are some similarities between his character in The Matrix and bad Terminators, making humans into Terminators. Marcus Wright, you know, and for the record, I loved Sam Worthington in that part. I was fascinated by the fact that it was so cool because you kind of knew it as the story progressed that at some point he was going to discover he was a Terminator. But it's a great scene when it happens in that movie. And I liked how he portrayed that character. And I thought him and Christian Bale had really good chemistry on screen as John Connor and as Marcus Wright. And I love that sort of third act when he's talking to Helen Bonham Carter, because she's inside Skynet, kind of Skynet's face. And he's like, I'm doing things my own way, you know? And I really, really like that. I wish they could have figured out a way to have kept that character going and maybe gotten us to another sequel there. So, does anybody have predictions on where Terminator Dark Fate's going to end up at the box office? Because I say 387 million. That's my final tally, which is pathetic. Think about this for a second. Most Fast and the Furious movies make $800 million or more dollars at the box office. Venom, a Spider-Man villain, just kicked the holy shit out of Terminator. That's sad. Tom Hardy would be interesting in a Terminator movie, come to think of it. Monster drinks. I love them. Monster, if you're watching, I am open to all sponsorships. That reveal scene in Salvation was horrific, and I loved it. Agreed. I think around solo numbers 380 to 390. Don Draper, the famous Don Draper, member of the Rhodes Squadron, has checked into the chat. It was an interesting twist on the friendly Terminator, but Salvation needed to be more streamlined because it lost its focus, in my opinion. Man, I just wish I'd have gotten the trilogy out of that. Now, the young actor that played Kyle Reese that was in the Fright Night remake and the Star Trek movies is now deceased. And I thought he was pretty good as a young Kyle Reese, actually. He had some mannerisms down for that character that I was like, man, you must have watched Terminator 1 like 700 times to get some of these mannerisms down like that. Because he had it. He had it working. Dave, I had no expectations for Venom and was shocked. I was thoroughly entertained by Venom. I really was. And they absolutely have to get Venom. They have to get Tom Hardy and Tom Holland together. That movie has got to happen. And I think it's going to be, I don't think it will be the next film unless it's at the end of the next film. They'll have a Venom reveal. Either in Venom, the Venom sequel, or in the next Spider-Man sequel. At the end, there'll be a Venom reveal, and don't forget about Carnage. And that will set up Spider-Man and Venom. Monster is the MVP of my graveyard shifts. Yeah, I like the blue label. I got the green label. I like the low carb version. But for some reason, my Walmart neighborhood market, I ran down there this morning, and they never have the blue label. So Salvation is one of the most underrated films ever. I agree. When we did our top 10 list of most underrated movies, Salvation, I think, made my top 3 of all time, if I remember correctly. So now, let's just ask the question, and I think we all know the answer. Why the hell does Hollywood keep killing all of our damn heroes? You know, I mean, and I've noticed something as a content creator, and I know John Matrix has noticed it, and I'm interested to know. I don't know if Cinedave and 19K Fox are plowing out Terminator videos or Chillmonger, but this film is dividing the Terminator fandom, just like The Last Jedi. Now, The Last Jedi is an abomination of filmmaking. This movie is 100 times better. But the point being is it's now divisive in the community. I mean, the comments are rolling in among Terminator fans, and it has split the Terminator community, just like Rian Johnson did with The Last Jedi. It's nuts. It's nuts. Now we have infighting among Terminator fans. Good morning, Horror Nation. Welcome in. Good to see you. Hey, Rhodes, we're getting close to The Mandalorian. I know. I can't wait. The Mandalorian's coming. We are, good God, we're 9 days out. 9 days out from The Mandalorian. I have seen leaks from the second season already, as far as pictures, things like that. I haven't done a video on it. I need to. And I did want to sort of touch on The Mandalorian in here. Very quickly, what are you guys looking forward to the most from The Mandalorian? And I'll let y'all percolate on that question. I think it was number 2 on my list. Hollywood needs to kill all straight white males. It's because they are old white men. They need to go. Good God. I did draw some comparisons to The Last Jedi. And welcome to the live stream, Lord Callus. Rise. Guys, I assume all of you at this point are subscribed to Lord Callus. But if you're not, you remember when people subscribe to channels and you look at Star Wars Theory, and down in the comment section, there's some dude that says, I've been subbed to you since you had 1,200 subs. Now is the time for Lord Callus. Subscribe to Lord Callus, because one of these days, we will all be looking up at Lord Callus's channel. So, not to give you a big plug, but hey, I feel strongly about your content. I guarantee you. Looking forward to the story in The Mandalorian. Absolutely. Favreau, Filoni, the potential saviors of Star Wars. Hey, heavy OT references. How about the battle droids, the super battle droids in the last Mandalorian trailer? Okay, I've seen people speculate. Why is that? Why are we seeing those? I believe that's a flashback scene. And it's going to be a flashback. I think that little boy in that part of the trailer is the Mandalorian. Okay. And I think you're seeing the battle droids come in and attack in some sort of a flashback scene. So, I think that's what that's all about. And I think that's going to look crazy on a screen. I do. We know the creatures they were riding were blurbs. They are not dewbacks. Dewbacks don't go that fast either, and they sort of had a little hop to them. I don't think the creature that he's grabbing that has the rhino horn, I don't believe that is the same creature that is in Attack of the Clones, by the way. Or if it is, it's a variation on it. The Mandalorian himself, I think it's going to be a really interesting character, and I really want to know what his motivation is. There is supposed to be a big spoiler, I believe, in the first episode of The Mandalorian that is going to tie into Star Wars lore. And I don't know what you guys think that's going to be in the chat. I've got my suspicions, and I'll tell you what it is. I believe we will get confirmation. This is the rumor that we will get confirmation on whether Boba Fett is alive or dead. That's what I'm hearing. Okay. There will be something that addresses whether or not he is alive. I will tell you, there are books out there right now, comics, that insinuate that Boba's still alive. Okay. And of course, before Disney took over, there were, I've got a slew of them, in fact, of comics. I can't remember what the name of the comics was, but Boba was the main character of the comics, and it was post Jedi, by the way. So, and then there's stories out there where a guy gets Boba's armor and essentially impersonates Boba. And those were pre-Disney as well. Some toxic masculinity for you guys this morning with the beard, the monster drink, the menthols. Yeah. What's up? Okay, Lord Callus. That's what it was. That you're where I saw that. In fact, he has a video on it. Ray Alone. Is that a comic or a book? I cannot remember. But there's some Boba banter in that reading, and it is canon. Oh, JP, thank you, sir, with the 120 yen in the house. Guys, if you are not subscribed to the great entertainment hacker, please go do so at this time. JP is the one that sort of ushered me into the community back when I had, like, I don't know, 25 subs, 60 subs. I can't remember. All right, John Matrix, enjoy those turkey legs, man. Grab them. So thank you for the 120 yen. It is humbling, sir. I should quit smoking. No, This is my toxic masculinity. YouTube is not going to censor my enjoyment of this menthol cigarette. They will not do it. Immediately, I just limited the ads on this live stream lighting this cigarette. I'm sure Daniel Logan would be the one to reprise his role as Boba. I would assume so. That's what I think. Gave you a shout out before in text. You had 11 or 12. I had 11 or 12 subs when Entertainment Hacker came on and found me and ushered me into the community. And of course, I met so many great people. Snoke Spinal Tap is one of the first guys that I met. And while I'm thinking about it, what I'm trying to do, and for the guys over 1,000 subs that has a community post, what I'm trying to remember to do is to share a channel on my community post every day. I like that community post. It's really valuable. You can put all kinds of things on there. So I've been trying to remember to put channels on there. Lord Callus, also in the Ultimate Star Wars New Edition, when reading his bio, it does not definitively state that he is dead, as it does with Mace Windu and Luke Skywalker, etc. And Lord Callus is talking about Fett. Good night, JP. Enjoy your sleep, sir. Thanks for coming through. Thank you for the super chat, sir. I appreciate it. Hacker was the first I met too, then you and John. Lord Callus, the Tuesday, Wednesday show, I have not decided yet, is coming back. And I would love for you to be on it, if possible, as much as you can be. Okay. We'll do it either prior drunk stream or we'll do it on Wednesdays. So I'm trying to navigate around black guys and a drunk. So get it in there, you know. Got to run some errands. Take care, Senator Dave. Thank you for showing up, sir. So, The Mandalorian, what else do we want to see? Tony Gilroy, the guy that came in, the director that basically reshot a bunch of and rewrote, he's the guy that made Rogue One what it ended up being, the final product of Rogue One, not Gareth Edwards, who actually got fired by Kathleen Kennedy. That's one of my issues with her, is how many people she's been through creatively. Tony Gilroy is going to be writing and possibly directing that Cassian Andor series. So he's got his hands all in Rogue One, and he knows those characters. And he's a hell of a director. So we've got some value coming on Cassian Andor. I think that series is going to really surprise some folks. I do. I think it could be sneaky. If it wasn't for the fact that I feel more of a connection to The Mandalorian, I think Cassian could end up being the best of the series, and I think we're sleeping on it. I do. The Mandalorians just got to be different. It's a big galaxy, and as long as they're using new characters, they can do no wrong. Look, I agree with that too. I think one of Disney's mistakes, looking back, as badly as we wanted to see our old characters, the safest way to have done that would have been to leave those stories alone. Leave Jedi the way it ended and those characters the way it ended, and go on with a new story with a new villain. Now, I know they tried with Snoke and then Rian Johnson. I mean, I could say Star Wars and at the end of it say Ryan Johnson, and everybody's gonna know what I mean. You know, I think in the history of pop culture now, as we talk about things that's being effed up, at the end of it, we can say Terminator Dark Fate, Ryan Johnson. He's becoming the Munson from Kingpin. He's been Munsoned. Well, you've been Ryan Johnson. Terminator has been Ryan Johnson. I want to see a lot of world building because it's a bit dry between 6 and 7. It's very dry. Yeah, Chillmonger, Ryan Johnson. I love the idea of the operative. So they're going to be a lot of SP. Yes, Cassian is a spy show. It is a spy thriller show. Okay. And Alan Tudyk is coming back as K2SO, which is going to be really cool. And I said that the thing that's going to make Cassian a good show, and everybody keeps saying, yeah, but the character of Cassian, we know what happens. Look at the time period that it's being made. After Sith, some of it's going to be a little prior Sith, and then it's going to progress. And then we've got that juicy time period, and Kenobi's going to get into this too a little. There's a lot of juicy time period between Revenge of the Sith and Rogue One. Think about that. It's the time period that's going to make the show good. And it's all the sort of cameos we can get out of that. You know, the Grand Moff Tarkins are alive. Vader is out there. You know, will we see some of the purge of the Jedi in this Cassian show? And look, guys, the showrunner is the guys that did The Americans. And that show, I saw a survey the other day. That show was named the 7th best series of the 2010s, The Americans, and that's who's going to run this entire show. I think most of us enjoyed Rogue One. That was a seedy underworld of the beginnings of the rebellion. If they can get that formula right, it will be fire. Tony Gilroy. Yeah, absolutely agree. I agree. If they keep that look, I mean, the Mandalorian's got that Rogue One look. It just looks a certain way. Okay. I'm gonna keep it real. There were parts of one reason I sort of enjoyed Solo. There were parts of it I really liked the look of Solo, a Star Wars story. Some of the places and elements they had in it. It had the right look. It's one of my problems with The Last Jedi. It didn't look or feel like Star Wars to me. It didn't. Ryan Johnson. You've been Ryan Johnson. Watch out. You're going to be Ryan Johnson. So, The Mandalorian. Will we see any Force sensitives season 1? That's a question out there. I've got it on my watch list right here. The Americans is a top 10 show, period. I've heard nothing but great things about it, and that showrunner is the showrunner for Cassian. So, I mean, people talk about the Americans in the same way that they talk about Fargo and Breaking Bad and all these Mad Men, all these really great shows of the last decade, 12 years. The Americans is always brought up. So that gives me some confidence as well. Ryan Johnson, Chillmonger, Ryan Johnson. We've been Ryan Johnson. Look at the size of that Ryan Johnson. Jesus Christ, it's Ryan Johnson. No, it's not true. It's Ryan Johnson. By the way, for the record, Ryan Johnson ain't got no damn trilogy. I'm just letting y'all know. Look, I made the video the other day that Benioff and Weiss got the soft firing after the Game of Thrones debacle, right? What do we think has happened with Ryan Johnson? The soft firing, right? He deserved a high hard one firing, but Eric Breen says, I don't know what the fuck a Cassian is, but I'm interested. Would be cool, but I don't need it. I would love to see the series spend more time diving into Mandalorian lore. I don't have to have force sensitives either, but I recognize that there is a thirst for more Jedi and more force sensitives out there from the Star Wars community, and I can appreciate that. Good day, Stevie J Reviews. Guys, if y'all are not subscribed to Stevie J, get on it. Rhodes Squadron. Stevie J's got a good channel. And unless I'm going nuts, I know you just put up a Terminator review. I think I just watched it. So I made a video about Ryan Johnson's trilogy 2. It's uploading. Oh, okay, cool. All right. Chillmonger has got I like a good Ryan Johnson video. If it's a slow day and I'm like, I don't know what to make, Ryan Johnson. Let me type Ryan Johnson into Google and see what that jerk off has been up to that day, because he is sure to have given me something. Ryan Johnson is the Star Wars gift that keeps on giving. If you're a YouTube creator. So, we're going to see something in the last episode of season 1 of The Mandalorian. It's going to be a mic drop moment. I can't figure out what it's going to be, but it's going to be something that came from the mind of Filoni. And I think it's going to be something that relates back to the Clone Wars or Rebels. I can't figure out what it's going to be. Horror Nation, it is so interesting that you put that in the chat. I think we got to be on Ahsoka watch because of Filoni. If this is a great show, and look, I don't care who you are, when a company gives you a second season without the first season having come out, they generally speaking have a pretty good grasp on how the community, especially now, how the community is going to react. You are going to be on Ahsoka watch. You're going to be on Bo-Katan watch. Katie Sackhoff, she would not answer Harloff when he specifically asked her about The Mandalorian. She smiled at him like, you SOB already know the answer to this question. Why are you asking me on this podcast? But she smiled at him when I asked about The Mandalorian, and she would not answer. Okay? So Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan, watch for it. I think Obi-Wan will quench that thirst. That's why I'd like to see the Mandalorian stay on course with bounty hunter exploits. Now, if that means he's hunting a FS, it could be very cool. Would make for interesting viewing. Now, we know there is a child in The Mandalorian. There's a baby that he is supposed to be protecting. In case anybody's concerned, because I got concerned, I thought, oh, I'm going to tell you what I thought when I first heard that. And I've carried this with me for like up until like the last 3 weeks, until I think I finally have ruled it out due to timeline. I was scared to death the baby was going to be Rey. In fact, I made a video the other day about the Mandalorian, and I said, I've got a funny feeling about that baby. And Stephanie J left in the comment section, she said, "Babe, the baby's Rey." The baby's not Rey. I don't think the baby is Rey because the timeline does not work out. She was born after this time period. If I remember correctly, Rey is born several years after the Mandalorian starts. So, because I could see, I mean, can you imagine that this show is perfectly great, and then we find out the baby that he's taking care of is Rey? But what I will tell you is, from having worked corporate work for so many years prior to starting my own business, guys, if I was Disney, I got a character that desperately needs a backstory. It's not far-fetched. I just hope they don't do it. Because, can you imagine the fallout? You've got a perfectly good show, and then they shove Rey in there. Yikes. Because that's not helping the community at this point, right? So I'm hoping not. But that baby has got some significance to it. But the timeline doesn't match up. Lord Callis, you could probably look into that timeline too. But I looked at it. I think we can rule it out. I don't think it's Rey. So it doesn't look like. I don't know how old was Rey in The Force Awakens? Wasn't she like 19 or 20? So Stevie J says, I think him having to protect the baby is a good choice story-wise. It will help make his character relatable. Yeah, there's something interesting there. It also, I think, could lead to a brutality from the Mandalorian if he's protecting a baby. Okay? In other words, if you're protecting a child, let's say something's happening and something happens where you have to act, you're going to prosecute somebody with extreme prejudice in order to take care of a baby or a child. So it's going to add an element to the Mandalorian that I think is going to be really, really interesting. Don't think the timing is right. ST is 30 years after Rey is 19. The Mandalorian is 5 to 7 years after Jedi. And I believe it is for sure 5 years. Favreau said it was 5 years. So I'm going to go 5 years. And I think that for sure takes her out of the running. I think the baby is Force sensitive, and one of the characters will mention how Skywalker is looking to train Force users. I believe the first episode is going to have a Leia Luke name drop in it. There will be a reference to Luke and Leia in it. Rey was 19. Okay. Rubber Band Man, what's up? Preach my white brother. We are talking a little bit of everything, and I've actually kind of gone as long as I was going to go. But heck, let's do another 10 minutes just for the hell of it. So, we've got the baby. What else are we looking for out of this series that we would like to see? Are we going? They're swearing up and down we're not getting any of the OT characters or anything, but I think that is a misdirect. I think Favreau is absolutely going to put some characters in this series, but it's going to be minor characters. Okay, very minor. In the way that you saw Walrus Man in Rogue One. Okay, I call him Walrus Man. I know his name is what, Pondo Baba or something like that. But he's Walrus Man to me because that's what he was in the Kenner Star Wars figure when I was a kid. So there's going to be something there. Bill Burr is in this. Bill Burr is in one episode. Which one? I don't know. Okay, guys. The longest member of the Rhodes Squadron from my old channel followed me over. Anthony, YouTube fan, what's up? And I mean oldest member from like my second video I ever did on my old channel in like December of 2017. So I will be absolutely shocked if there is not a scene with the citizens in a bar or public square watching the HoloNet depicting Chancellor Mon Mothma speaking. We could see something like that. Absolutely. Absolutely. And glad to see you in a live stream. I know this is a weird time of the day. I've been toying with doing a weekend morning live stream because I don't have anything else going on. And during the week, things are chaotic. Things are. I would like to hear the legend of Luke being told. I believe you will hear that. It would be epic to see the Darksaber in action. I believe that's going to happen. We will see the Darksaber at some point in this show. Could be the season finale. Could be the season premiere of season 2. Could be the season finale of season 2. But if the Darksaber is on your wish list, I think you're going to get it. So, I do think you're going to get it. At least I hope. I don't know that we'll see Ahsoka. The one thing that makes me think we will is, number one, that is Filoni's character. And he is in creative charge of Ahsoka as a character. I could see them doing it in hopes of setting up, because one of the rumors I keep hearing is Ahsoka will get a series. I haven't made a video on that. I've heard rumblings about it. There's a lot of series on the table right now. Darth Revan is on the table. Bane is on the table. There's a lot of different series ideas out there, but they could use that as a launching point to spin off for Ahsoka, the Mandalorian. And I'm not the only one that's heard some of these spin-off rumors. Christian Harloff said it on Jedi Council the other day too. Which, by the way, that was his last Jedi Council. His new show will start next week. You guys know I'm fair. I'll call it right down the middle. I like Harloff. I don't care how that feels or looks or anything. He's a Star Wars fan. He's been talking Star Wars for 15 years. So you beat us to it. Or it or somebody. Beat somebody to it. But Ahsoka, so at some point, I hope Sabine is one that I would keep an eye out for. You want to know the truth? and I keep saying it. I want to see the live action continuation of Rebels. I want to see the live action version of Sabine and Ahsoka going to find Ezra, because we get to see Ezra, we get to see Thrawn, Ahsoka, and Sabine. And while I would be okay getting that in animated, and that story is going to continue, I want to see it live action. Yes. And I think that is a show that everybody could get behind. You want to know the truth? That's not a bad idea for a live action trilogy of movies, if you want to know the truth. That'd be really badass. But I don't know what the next movie is. I've been told it's Feige's movie. That 2022 movie, now that it's been made public that Dan and Dave are gone, you know, is Feige's movie. Is Dengar still alive? I don't believe so, because I believe that Dengar was on Jabba's barge. He was in Jabba's palace. I'm certain I saw Dengar on that barge in Return of the Jedi. I may be wrong. If anybody else in the chat remembers that scene, I know he's in Jabba's palace, but I cannot remember if he's on that freaking barge or not. Seeing Dengar would be great. I just really want it to be good as it looks in the trailers, has a Star Wars feel, and if they can keep the story simple and character focused, it will be good. This is what I've really tried to tell people about. We got some. God, don't tell me that. I love Gardner Minshew. That kid is so fun. What if the Mandalorian's young self is in the Clone Wars next season? That's interesting. I didn't think about that. Will Gentry, what's up? I'm with you, Rhodes. I enjoyed Terminator, Woke Fate. The Terminator thing, that's coming from Neurotic, I think. Is that right? God, I like that dude. He does a fun live stream. Yeah, and when I say I liked it, again, pretty good. A 6.75 out of 10 is nothing to write home about. I mean, that's not a life-altering good movie. I said it played in a manner of a enjoyable sequel to Fast and the Furious. It was a popcorn flick. Unfortunately, it needed a better story because of the name Terminator attached to it. I could see that as an idea for a trilogy, and Filoni could write and direct. Okay. Will Gentry says, I accept there are a lot of problems with it. Agreed. And a lot of the reasons people will hate it. Agreed. But so help me, good. I enjoyed it. There's nothing wrong with that. You are in a safe space here. You are in a safe space. I welcome all parts of everybody to this. I'm thinking about a new tagline for Rhodes Rants. Y'all tell me what you think. Rhodes Rants, where the fandom meets in the middle. Somebody tell me what you think. Because I think we do a poor job in the community of being truly objective with no preconceived criterias going into a product. And sometimes our preconceived ideas may come out as fact, but sometimes it may cloud our vision in truly being as honest as we can be about some said product. It's all right. Okay, maybe not. Howard, what's up? Good to see you. To me, it's the kind of flick where you can put aside all the dumb bits, all the woke bits, and all the bits that shit on lore, and it's possible to enjoy. It's almost just a sort of an enjoyable action movie, like an enjoyable generic action movie. And that's a problem. Terminator shouldn't be generic. But with that criteria, it was sort of an enjoyable generic action movie. Okay. So, and to be fair, and maybe this is because I owned that horror website for so long, I don't judge certain movies with the same criteria that I do other movies. For example, The Irishman is coming. You can bet I'm going to be pretty critical of that movie. Why? Because of the kind of movie it's going to be. The kind of story. I'm going to look at that with my true critical Joker, Goodfellas, Casino, Godfather. There's movies that transcend. Okay. And then look, if I put Goodfellas criteria into judging a horror movie, every horror movie would be dog shit. And I would hate all of them. But I don't look at them that way. Okay. So I agree, Rhodes. Take Knives Out, for example. I know a girl who has no issue with Ryan, isn't on the lookout for. She said Knives Out is an amazing film. I promise you, you will not most likely get a review from Knives Out from me on this channel. Ryan Johnson would be my one exception to any rule. And I don't believe I will ever be able to objectively look at anything Ryan Johnson does again. So maybe it's best to avoid it for me. Okay. Because there's just been so much mess around everything from that film. And I've said a lot of that's got to do with Kathleen Kennedy because, look, guys, and I'm just going to keep it real here. I don't think that I don't believe that Ryan Johnson was qualified to direct a large story-driven tent pole movie like Star Wars. I don't. Now, I know everybody shits on J.J. Abrams, and I'm always fair with J.J. But J.J., whether you like him or not, he had a track record of at least dealing with blockbuster film. Ryan Johnson didn't. And I don't think Kathleen should have ever given him the job to begin with. I think you have to take each film on its own individual merits. I was looking forward to a review on Knives Out. I'll consider it. And If I decide to watch it, I'll be fair to it. Okay? I will do my best to be fair to it. But what I will tell you is, I can tell you from just looking at it, for example, I don't like the movie Clue, and I know a lot of people do. So I don't know that I'm going to love this movie or even like it. If it's, and I've heard it's very similar. I think he's trying to plagiarize a Tarantino movie, if you want to know the truth, especially just looking at his casting. The casting of Don Johnson is a big one for me because he's a Tarantino guy. I think our preconceptions hold us hostage at all times, especially in this little YouTube community we have going on. We're all pumping each other up to look out for that stuff. I do not disagree with that. So we're telling ourselves we'll hate things before we even give them a chance. I agree. Here's the thing about Ryan and The Last Jedi. He said himself it takes him years to write. He basically had no time to write The Last Jedi, so I think it's on the studio and him. The studio should have given him more time. No, he writes, but he also should have stepped aside if he knew he couldn't deliver. Okay. That's a fair and valid point. And it's been one of my issues with Disney Star Wars. Why? I was thinking about this the other day. I was going to make a video. We'll just talk about it real quick. Why are you putting these damn release dates on films that you haven't even outlined the stories for, that you don't? I'm hearing rumblings that they don't know what that 2022 film is about yet. Now, maybe Feige does, and it's been my notion that Feige has been around for at least 6 months, and we did not know it. We've got to remember the big conference call that happened last year where Grace Randolph broke the story about Bob Iger being angry with Kathleen, having offered Kathleen's job to JJ. That conference call, Kevin Feige was on that call then. Okay, so we don't know how much in the pre-production they might be or story they might be on the 2022 film. But what I've heard right now, they still don't know what it's going to be about. So why is there a release date on a film that you don't even have a strong notion of what the story is going to be? That drives me nuts. It should take as long as it takes. If we go 3 or 4 years without a movie, 5 years without a movie, I don't care as long as the movie is great. I think the problems were there before they even started. I can't fathom how they didn't plan out a whole trilogy from the outset. It seems absolutely nonsensical to me. Okay, but that's on Kathleen. JJ had written 3 film treatments. It is noted out there. JJ wrote a 3 film outline to have been followed. Daisy Ridley said Rian Johnson used 0 of it. 0. That is a direct quote from her. So it's on Kathleen Kennedy to have said, look, Ryan, and this has always been my issue. Ryan had the easiest sequel in the history of the planet to write. And he jacked it up. Anything inspiring? Good morning. Welcome. If you have a channel, everybody check it out. Chillmonger. Ryan shouldn't have been allowed to write a new story. Yes, Feige knows what he's doing. The ST should have been in development for 5 years or so, used Georgia scripts, and 7 should have came out in May of 2017 to celebrate the 40th anniversary. Star Wars films should be tentpole things. They should be things that don't get released until they are perfect. They shouldn't be rushed to fit arbitrary studio release dates. Yep, you're right. It's on Kathleen. And this is the other thing. When George was calling all the shots, essentially, George was kind of like an independent filmmaker that blew up and could afford to fund his own movies. Corporation comes in and buys said entity. It all changes from a business perspective. I can tell you that from having worked corporate, from having managed 12 years in a corporate environment. Things are look different. I own my own business now. Sure, there are elements I've put from my training into my business that's helped me do certain aspects of it. But it's viewed differently. The property is viewed differently on a corporate level than George would have looked at it. Here's the problem, too. For Disney, and in fairness, let's stick another entity on there. For Warner Media or for Paramount/Universal, if they were to have bought Lucasfilm, it was going to change with the sale, no matter what, because you've got a corporate entity running the show. So the priorities do change behind the scenes to a point. And I think one of the big problems is all of a sudden Star Wars became no different to Disney than Pirates of the Caribbean. They don't care if it's got a Star Wars logo on it. It's just another large tentpole property to them. Okay? So that's one of the problems. Okay? They don't, the same effort that they put into a Pirates of the Caribbean movie is the same effort they want to put into Star Wars. And of course, we as Star Wars fans are like, that's the biggest insult to stick to Star Wars ever, the Pirates of the Caribbean. But from a money standpoint, look, with corporations, it's all about numbers. Somewhere deep in the bowels of Disney, Star Wars has a corporate number attached to it. And we don't want to hear that, but it does. It's got a corporate property number stuck to it. And does that mean that they can't come back and make better decisions? Of course. Once they start losing money, which Solo was a big wake-up call. Guys, one of the other reasons why I sort of started course-correcting my channel, and I've said this before, there has been changes made at Lucasfilm, and significant ones, particularly around the story group, Carrie Hart getting axed. The story group is basically dismantled. It was reported like 6 weeks ago. It's been blown up. The story group that was responsible for The Last Jedi is no longer there. There's been other things. Michelle Rejwan, I think she's calling the shots more than Kathleen Kennedy, and I don't think it's a coincidence that Mandalorian, Kenobi, all these things are happening. It's a good sign that Lucasfilm let Benioff and Weiss go due to the response of Game of Thrones. Guys, that's a smart competent business decision by them. We don't want to make videos saying that for some reason, but that's a smart decision. You saw what they did to Game of Thrones and said, oh, hell no, and you got them out of there. Soft firing, as we talked about the other day. No, don't use the script. He's an awful script writer. What you want to use is his ideas. Yeah, you would rather have George probably just do the story and let somebody else put the script together. I would use everything from George since it was his story. Just need to help with dialogue, and maybe Spielberg could direct. Spielberg will not direct a Star Wars film. He has said that's the one thing he's out on. Why is Filoni not in charge of the story group? I think that's the other thing. We keep wanting Filoni. I don't know that Filoni wants it. I think that's the side we're not looking at. I don't think Filoni wants the job. I don't think he wants Kathleen's job because by and large, her job is an administrative job. It is. And I don't think he wants that job. He wants to be creative. I think he wants to direct a trilogy of films is what I really think Dave Filoni wants to do. Well, that story group basically flopped on every story it ever told. All 4 films have been bad, but the first 2 succeeded because of nostalgia power. So, Will, you think Rogue One is bad? Is a bad film? See, I like The Force Awakens. I still say that. I like it. I don't care. You won't see me go on my channel and say I don't like it. I enjoy the movie. I actually love the movie, if you want to know the truth. And that's one of the reasons I hate The Last Jedi so much. Because it hurt the movie that I enjoyed so much prior to it. Even talking about it right now, it pisses me off. Pay Filoni, everybody's got a price. Yeah, but you don't want him doing a job he doesn't want to do. If Filoni doesn't want to do the job, then you don't want him doing it. Because that's going to hurt him creatively as well. I think they know TROS won't do well as they hoped. Early next year, they will announce changes from top to bottom, which films will be making. That is a valid point. I think they know to a point TROS is in trouble. No matter what. Now, is this still going to make more money than some of us are letting on? Yeah. Always peruse comment sections of all kinds of channels because it gives you a better understanding of where the fandom is. Okay. And it allows you to be a little bit more objective about things. And you realize all-inclusive statements like everybody hates or nobody wants is simply not a valid statement. It's not true. The fandom really is divided. But TROS will not perform like we had hoped, like they had hoped anyway. Filoni is only so highly rated because he's the only good Star Wars we've had since the OT. The prequels were okay, but badly executed. The Clone Wars, however, seemed to be highly rated by the majority. Good morning, Snoke Spinal Tap. Absolutely, everybody go subscribe to Snoke. I am still going. John Matrix. Lord Callis saw Force Awakens 7 times, saw Rogue One 3 times. You saw Solo 3 times. Wow. Okay. I enjoyed them all. Only The Last Jedi, it shit the bed. This is something that me and Lord Callis have talked about behind the scenes as creators. There is really only one terrible product, in our opinion, and that was The Last Jedi. Okay. And we know other creators that feel that way too. But we all sort of got boxed into something else. Unintentionally, by the way. I like Filoni because he speaks like a fan. Seems like a good creator for Star Wars. The Last Jedi is the only one that's truly god awful that ruins things that came before. But for me, The Force Awakens was a poor imitation. Rogue One was a mess, and Solo was just not needed. I love Rogue One. Good morning, Almighty Coon. Good to see you, brother. Yeah, I like Filoni, but I don't think he's quite as good as most people like to think he is. He does seem like a fan, but he's the only one we had, so we've got nothing to rate him against. I think TROS will be the best of the trilogy, but I think people will have burn it, and it will affect the box office. Jesus, we do have football soon. I only intended to go 45 minutes to an hour, and it's sort of picked up. And see, this is my point. John Matrix, he only liked Rogue One. The rest were trash to him. Even in our own community, we all can't agree. But that's fine. That's good. Snoke Spinal Tap, I was talking about you earlier. Snoke is a big Solo guy in our community. He really enjoyed Solo. So, and I liked Solo because it, especially after The Last Jedi, it felt Star Warsy. It felt like Star Wars. Okay. One of my issues with The Last Jedi is it didn't feel like a Star Wars movie to me. It just didn't. It felt like I was watching some other kind of franchise, not named Star Wars. And I had a real problem with that. I had a real problem with it. I can respect that point of view, but I didn't like any of them. None of them gave me the feels the way the OT did. Well, and let's be fair about that, because I agree with that. We saw the OT as kids. Most of us, anyway. So we sort of got to remember we watched them with our kids' glasses on. Okay? Nothing has ever. Well, The Force Awakens got pretty close, but you still have the OT. I mean, I'm 44 years old, so I'm not sure anything was going to be, I literally, the only time I got excited feeling for Disney Star Wars was the first time I saw the Falcon. When the music kicked in and the Falcon was flying, I felt it inside. I bawled like a baby during those first two trailers. Do you know that Disney Plus is only launching in 3 markets? Really disappointed we won't get. I heard that. That's a shame. None of the others made me feel anything but bored or angry. The only film that made me angry was The Last Jedi. I thought Alden did a good job, but Donald Glover was just doing an imitation. Okay. Honestly, everybody was singing the praises of Donald Glover, and I've got nothing against Donald. I like him. But I thought Alden was the best part of that movie, and I'm not ashamed to tell people that. Tuck and Roll Snow Dub is in the house. Guys, if you are not subscribed to Snow Dub, tuck and roll your asses over to his channel and hit the subscribe button for a different kind of content. His channel's fun. So go subscribe and prepare to have fun. especially when he does live streams. Okay, guys, I got to wrap it up. Oh, Snow Dub just got here. I meant to go 45 minutes to an hour. I've been on an hour and 40 minutes, and football's about to start. So I've got to roll out. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. I appreciate it. Good turnout for a Sunday morning. Peace. I'm out.